Welcome all to AK Bio lecture series. In this class or in this video, we are going to discuss about the chemo attraction of sperm towards the egg in mammals. In the previous classes, we discussed about the chemo attraction in sea urchin model. Here we are discussing about the mammalian model. Okay, in the last class we discussed about the process of capacitation and which is takes place inside at the isthmus region of a fallopian tube, and then the sperm moves towards the fertilization site or towards the egg. Okay, then after capacitation only the sperm can fertilize the egg, and only the capacitor sperms can sense the uh, cues from the egg and respond to the cues in the fallopian tubes. So which are the cues which are present in the fallopian tube? So here you can see the thermotaxis, here you can see the chemotaxis, etc. What is meant by thermotaxis? So here there is a change, slight change in the temperature, isn't it? So sperm senses this is a change in the temperature, and here the chemotaxis means the sperm senses some chemical signals from the egg or oocyte. So after capacitation, the sperm senses the thermal change or temperature change. Then at the same time, it senses and respond chemical signals. Okay. So following ovulation, egg has moved from the ovary to fallopian tubes. For fertilization to occur in mammals, ejaculated spermatozoa must reach the egg. So for fertilization, the sperm has to move towards the egg or oocyte. In mammals, following ejaculation into the female genital tract, large number of spermatozoa race towards the egg and compete to fertilize it. And in fact, few of the ejaculated spermatozoa, that is in human, only around 1 of every million spermatozoa succeed in entering the fallopian tube. So 1 out of million. So how this much filtering is take place is discussed in the last video. So if you want to know these details of how the filtering is takes place in the mammalian female reproductive system, you can watch the previous videos of this channel. So spermatozoa must undergo the process of ripening, that is known as capacitation, and only capacited spermatozoa can penetrate the cumulus layer that surrounds the egg. Here you can see the cumulus cells. So only the capacited sperms can penetrate the cumulus layer. Toward the end of capacitation, sperm become hyperactivated. We saw the mechanism of hyperactivation in the previous class. Okay. Hyperactivated sperms can swim at higher velocity and generate greater forces, and also can respond to the thermal change and chemical signals provided by the female reproductive system. And hyperactivation appears to be mediated by the opening of sperm-specific calcium channels in the sperm tail. So how this hyperactivation is taking place? With the help of the opening of specific type of channels, such as calcium channels on the plasma membrane of, and only capacited sperm can respond to the cues of the attraction and guidance towards the egg. And 3 active mechanisms of sperm guidance have been shown in mammals. The first one is rheotaxis, then thermotaxis, then chemotaxis. So first one is rheotaxis. Rheotaxis means the movement against the direction of stream from the vagina to uterus just after ejaculation. So rheotaxis is the movement of something against the flow. That means that is the meaning of rheotaxis. So movement against the direction of stream from the vagina to uterus just after ejaculation is the process of is coming under the rheotaxis movement. Okay. Next is thermotaxis. Thermotaxis means movement of cells along the temperature gradient. Here, after passing the isthmus region, the sperm respond to thermal changes. Okay, so movement of cells along the temperature gradient is called thermotaxis. In thermotaxis, spermatozoa are directed towards a higher temperature, and this mechanism of sperm guidance has so far been demonstrated in only 2 species. That is, it is described in only in 2 species, that is human and rabbits. And so a lot of research is needed in this area. So capacitor spermatozoa use an ovulation-dependent temperature gradient between isthmus and fertilization site. So during the process of ovulation and a menstrual, as part of menstrual cycle, what happens is that there will be a change in temperature along the length of fallopian tube. So it is the higher temperature towards this Fimbria region, and it's less in towards this end. That means isthmus region. So from here to isthmus region to the fertilization site, that is this ampular region of the fallopian tube, the temperature get increased. Okay, so here higher temperature, here lower temperature. Okay, so in thermotaxis, spermatozoa are directed towards a higher temperature, that is towards the ampular region, and this mechanism of sperm guidance has so far been demonstrated in only 2 species. Okay, and capacitor spermatozoa use an ovulation-dependent temperature gradient between isthmus and fertilization site. And here in thermal gradient is about 2 degrees Celsius between the isthmus and oviduct of the warmer ambulatory region. Here is a thermal gradient of 2 degrees Celsius between the isthmus of the oviduct and warmer ambulatory region. So from isthmus to ampular region, there is a difference of 2 degrees Celsius. When we considering this 2 degrees Celsius difference, it is very minute difference. But the capacitor mammalian sperm can sense thermal difference as small as 0.014 degrees Celsius over a millimeter length and tend to migrate toward higher temperature. So what a sensitive cell it is. But the capacity to sense the thermal difference is acquired by the process of capacitation only. So only the capacitor sperms can sense this temperature, means 0.014 degrees Celsius difference in the fallopian tube. So by the time the sperms are in the ampullary region, so when the sperm is moving towards the ampullary region, now the sperm is moving towards the ampullary region, and by the time the sperm are in the ampullary region, most of them have undergone the acrosome reaction. Actually, the acrosome reaction is very highly regulated by the process of capacitation. Still, most when the even though the sperms are in the capacitated, then also some majority of the sperms are undergo premature acrosomal reaction before reaching the target. That means the egg. So so the sperms that undergo premature acrosomal reaction cannot penetrate the egg or cannot reach the egg. Okay. Next is chemotaxis. Chemotaxis means the movement of cells up a concentration gradient of chemoattractant, which works within millimeter of the egg. In mammals, only a small fraction of capacitor spermatozoa are chemotactically responsive. So, not all capacitor sperms can respond to the chemical signals. So only very few sperms that are sense or respond to the chemical signals from the egg. But one thing is must, only the capacitor sperms can respond to the signals from egg or chemical signals from egg. So what a wonderful filtering mechanism that is happening inside the female reproductive system. Then another potential passive guidance mechanism might be a drag of spermatozoa by muscle contraction in the female genital tract. So other than these 3 mechanisms, that is rheotaxis, chemotaxis and thermotaxis, the another mechanism of that helps the movement of sperm in female reproductive tract is the contraction in the female genital tract. So next we are discussing about the chemotactic activity in mammals. So which are the chemical cues that are produced by the eggs? In the case of invertebrates, for example, in sea urchin, we discussed about resac. In the same way, the eggs of mammals also produce some chemical cues that attract the specific sperms. Okay. So we are going to see such chemicals in next slides. Okay. The first one is mammalian follicular fluid. When we discussed about the egg maturation and folliculogenesis, we found the formation of an andrum with it is a fluid-filled space around the egg. So the Graafian follicle is very large one with the large andrum. So the andrum is filled with some chemical liquid, so which is secreted from the follicular follicles itself and from the egg also. So a fluid consists of that fluid, that is andrum, the fluid that filled the andrum of the mature Graafian follicle consists of sex steroid hormones, plasma proteins, mucopolysaccharides, and electrolytes that surround the ovum in the vesicular ovarian follicle, that is Graafian follicle. So the fluid filled inside the andrum consists of these compounds. Okay. The follicular fluid contains the pre-ovulatory secretions of the egg and its surrounding cells. So I already mentioned that all the fluid that is present inside the andrum is coming from the surrounding follicular cells itself. Okay. This accumulation was indeed the consequence of chemotaxis. So this chemicals which are present in the andrum that provides the signals to the sperm. So the oviductal fluid contains one or more chemoattractants. Okay. The first one is the 8 kilodalton size chemokines, that is Rantes. Okay. A potent chemoattractant for eosinophils, monocytes, and T lymphocytes was shown to be chemoattractant for human spermatozoa. Actually, it is not exclusive. The Rantes is a chemokine that is not exclusive to the sperm attraction, but it's also a chemoattractant for eosinophils, monocytes, and T lymphocytes. But in the case of females, the same Rantes functioning as the sperm attractant. Okay, this chemokine is known to be present in follicular fluid. And the mRNA for its receptor, the very wonderful thing is that the ligand is Rantes. Rantes is a ligand that is present inside the present in the andrum in follicular fluid. Okay, but how the sperm senses to the Rantes specifically? Actually, the sperm have the specific mRNA for its receptor. Means Rantes receptor. So when the sperm reaches to the female reproductive tract, the Rantes mRNA inside the sperm get translated and forms the specific receptor proteins and attaches with the plasma membrane of the sperm. So the mRNA for the specific receptor, that is Rantes receptor, is already deposited inside the sperm during the meiosis in father. Okay, so mRNA for its receptor has been found in human spermatozoa. The next molecule, that is the first molecule, is Rantes, and the second molecule in follicular fluid, that is in andrum, is andrum fluid, that is atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP. And ANP is a polypeptide hormone that is secreted from atrial portion of the heart and from other mammalian cell types that activates particular guanylyl cyclase. Actually, the ANP activates the guanylyl cyclase. Okay, ANP is present in human follicular fluid also. Actually, it is not exclusively present in follicular fluid, but it is also produced by the heart cells. Okay, so ANP specific receptors have been identified in human spermatozoa. As same as we discussed about the Rantes receptor mRNA, the ANP receptor mRNA is already deposited in the sperm cytoplasm. And when it reaches to the when it enters, the sperm enters the female reproductive tract by the action of specific cues from in female reproductive tract, the mRNA in the sperm cytoplasm, that is specific for ANP and this Rantes receptor get translated and forms the specific proteins, and they get attached to the plasma membrane of the sperm, and that receptor that binds with the specific ANP and these Randus proteins. So the first one, the mammalian follicular fluid, is finished with these two molecules, and the second cue is the progesterone from surrounding cumulus cells. So the antrum filled follicular fluid we discussed, and the progesterone from surrounding cumulus cells is another cue given by the egg to the specific sperms. And as the spermatozoa approaches the vicinity of the fertilization site, they probably senses a chemoattractant gradient that originates at the cumulus cells. So the egg is surrounded by cumulus cells, isn't it? So these cumulus cells secrete some chemicals, that chemical signals. That is, one is progesterone, and these released chemicals are sensed by the specific sperms, which are capacitated. Okay. One chemoattractant that is secreted by the cumulus cells is probably the progesterone. The mechanism of action of progesterone on sperm cells is still unknown, and the chemoattractant gradient guides the sperm to the egg cumulus complex, and these chemoattractants that attract the sperm towards the egg cumulus complex, that means the egg itself. So the arrival at this complex does not guarantee entry into the egg itself. Actually, hundreds of sperms all successfully completed this all these steps, but still it is not a guarantee or certificate to these 100 sperms that to entry into the egg itself. Okay, because the egg is covered with a dense matrix that is composed of hundreds of cumulus cells. So the sperm that only few sperms that can penetrate these hundreds of cumulus cells and reach the sperm egg membrane, plasma membrane. The first few spermatozoa that enter the cumulus are successful in finding the egg. Still not one. First few spermatozoa. That's important. So in the case of human spermatozoa, the chemoattractant bourgeonal activates the odorant receptor, that is OR17-4, which is bound to a G protein, that is G olfactory, that is located in the midpiece of the flagellum. Means, in the case of human spermatozoa, the sperm that senses a specific chemical, that is bourgeonal, that releases from the egg. Same as the result in the case of sea urchin, the sperm of mammals senses the specific protein, that is bourgeonal, released by the egg, and this bourgeonal is sensed or bound and activates this OR17-4 receptor on the sperm, where this protein is located. This is located on the midpiece of the flagellum, and it's this OR17-4 receptor is bounded to G protein, that is G olfactory protein. So it is a GPCR protein. So G protein, as a consequence, a membrane adenyl cyclase is activated. When the bourgeonal bound to the OR17-4, it signals the OR17-4 get activated, and OR17-4 receptor send a signal to G protein olfactory protein, G olf protein, and a G protein activation at the midpiece takes place, and as a consequence, a membrane adenyl cyclase activation takes place in the midpiece of the sperm. And a membrane adenyl cyclase convert this ATP into CAMP. That results a CAMP level in elevation or increase in the cytoplasm of the sperm. That results in the increase in the calcium level too. Means the CAMP activates some specific channels, calcium channels on the plasma membrane of the sperm. As a result, the calcium get entered into the cytoplasm of the egg, the sperm, and as a result, the calcium level inside the sperm cytoplasm get increased. Okay. That results in the asymmetrical beating of the sperm. These events induce the asymmetrical beating of the flagellum and consequently a change in the swimming direction of the sperm. But the mechanism of progesterone action is still unknown, so there is no explanation for the action of progesterone. But ultimately, the progesterone is something doing something on the sperm, activated sperm, that is capacitated sperm, and it changes its immune direction, of course. The capacitator and chemotactic response state is neither static nor prolonged, but it's not permanent. Actually, the capacitation and chemotactic response is not a certificate to the sperm for the fusion with the egg. It is just a static process, okay, static state of activation. This is not a long-term activation. So rather it is a transient shot that is 1 to 4 hours in humans and occurs only once in the sperm's lifetime. Only so the activation process is a single time activation process. So a single sperm will be activated only once in its lifetime. Okay. Even though this activator, the effectiveness of this activation is only for the first 1 to 4 hours. After 4 hours, it will lost. Okay. So, however, as different spermatozoa become capacitated at different times, this continuous replacement of capacitated cells in the sperm population ensures that capacitated spermatozoa are present in the female genital tract for extended periods. Means not all the sperms are activated at the same time. So a group of sperms get activated at a time, then after sometimes another group will be activated, and so a long period of time, for a long period of time, that's the system, that's the reproductive system, ensures the presence of few number of active sperms for the fertilization to happen. So in the case of mouse, the mouse cumulus cells also secrete a substance that's specific, that is only present in mouse, and it is CRISP1 that attracts sperm and hyperactivate them through Caspar channels. Caspar channels, you are familiar with Caspar channel. Caspar channel is a calcium channel. So, in the case of mouse, the mouse cumulus cells, that is the egg surrounding cells, that is cumulus cells, secrete a substance that is CRISP1, and that activates the sperm of the mouse by activating the Caspar channels on the plasma membrane of the sperm. So a capacitor sperm migrates through a layer of follicular cells before it reaches the zona pellucida, and the binding of sperm cells to the zona pellucida induces the acrosomal reaction. In mammals, zona pellucida plays a major role in analogous to that of the vital envelope in invertebrates. So in the case of invertebrates, the acrosomal reaction is occurred when the sperm binds to the vital envelope. So when the binding ligand or binding protein binds to the binding receptor on the egg vitelline membrane, the sperm acrosomal reaction will occur in the case of invertebrates. But in the case of vertebrates, or in the case of mammals, specifically in the case of mammals, when the sperm bound to the zona pellucida layer, the acrosomal reaction takes place. And the acrosomal reaction is same as in the case of invertebrates. Only the difference is that it gets activated as a result of the binding of the sperm with the zona pellucida layer. Actually, we will discuss those part in next video. Hope you understood the current topic well. Thank you.